Sometimes you get really tired of doing the same thing. Got really tired of pulling the starter in and out. So we're going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to do what I probably should do months from now when the car already runs, drives, and stops, which is, play around with this paint, see if I can't get it to look just a little bit better. So it's not original paint. It's been painted before. I believe the original color was actually that color. But we can still make the paint look pretty, at least better than it is. So first, we're going to wash it down, and then we're going to see what we can do with rubbing compound. So here's a little bit of progress. So what I did first was I cleaned the paint with water and a magic eraser. They look like that. Well, that's what's left of it. I don't know if that's the best thing to do. But basically I've done from the trim up. I cleaned that with the magic eraser, and then I used very, very, very light grit sandpaper with water, wet sanded the paint, and then that's what we got. So it's not really shiny in person, to tell you the honest truth. What I plan on doing is I plan on putting some cleaner wax on it, and hopefully that will clean it up just a little bit more. I was able to get all the, so you see right here, you see these little rough spots. I was able to get most of those out of the top edge, and you can see, all the dirt's gone, so there's a bunch of dirt, and then it's a lot cleaner. So it's a 100% patina look, and I like it. The only thing I'm really kind of bummed about is there's a couple spots on the roof and then on the trunk where it's actually, the paint's worn away. I mean, it's totally gone. And I know that wax alone won't fix that, won't stop it from rusting. Same with, the rest that's under here. But you know what? It's going to be as good as it's going to get. So I just think it's way better than what it used to be. I mean, even just cleaned up, not even shiny, is much better. Even dull is much better than it was. So a little bit more to go. I'm probably going to do this one door today and call it good. I don't plan on doing the whole car, but it definitely makes a difference for sure. And here is the final product. So I did use a buffer on it a little bit, but I decided it really didn't do much. So this is basically cleaned, and then cleaned and then waxed. That's pretty much all that I did to it, and it's a lot more shiny than it was. It's not super shiny, but it's okay. It's as good as it's gonna get. If I get the whole car to look like this, I'll be happy. So you can see from the side, it does have some shine to it. Not too bad. You can see compared to the front fender, which I haven't done anything to, it's awesome. It's much better. So it's kind of like a whole different color. If you step away from it, the door looks a lot darker than the rest of the car, probably because it's actually reflecting something. So that's as far as I'm going to go today. Maybe do the top of the door frame, maybe. But that is a preview of things to come. I just got tired of doing all the mechanical stuff, so had to do something fun. So there you go. One thing that has been kind of annoying on this Oldsmobile is the fact that this ignition switch that I have is hanging underneath the dash. The real problem I have is that there's a ring that goes on the end of it that's supposed to hold it in the dash. I don't have one. I couldn't find one in the car, and the cheapest one I found online was $50. And I'm like, I feel like I could spend $50 somewhere a little bit better than that. So what I have is I have this. So this is an ignition switch out of basically it's out of my 56 Cadillac. It's I bought one. I don't remember why I bought it, but it's a good switch. There's nothing wrong with it, and it hooks up pretty much the same way. As long as it will fit in the hole in the dash, I should be good. I do have a ring for it. Oh, I remember why I bought it. It's because the ring looks like this. It's all chewed up and crappy. Not becoming of a Cadillac, of course, but this ring will fit on this, and if I can get this to fit in the dash, it will work. Now all the connections on the back are the same. I mean, it's a GM ignition switch, and the difference is its size. I mean, you have ignition, solenoid, accessory, and then battery power. This one under the dash is identical. It's just a little smaller. So I'll see if I can get that to fit, and if I can, I'll put it in and put the wires up to it, and we can be able to turn the engine over with the key in the dash instead of using two hands underneath the dash. And here's the finished product. So there's a little bit of a gap in between the ring and the dash, which isn't supposed to be there, but it's a different dash, but it should still work. So right now I have it in off, and then it goes to ignition like that, and then crank. So, and sometimes when it feels like, it goes to accessory. Not all the times, but sometimes. But yep, there it is. Better than it used to be. I like it much better. I can reach into the car and turn the key instead of laying down on the seat and holding the ignition switch while I turn the key. So I think next I'm going to see if I can get this glove box actually closed the way it's supposed to, and then go from there. But I'm going to put the battery on and test and make sure all this stuff works like it should. Make sure I haven't wired it up wrong or something slipped or something's touching, etc., etc. So. After way too much time and effort, I was able to get in the trunk. So I don't have a key, so I had to pull the back seat out, basically go in from that door, and then go down inside, and make my way down that way. So that sucked. But I did make some interesting discoveries. So I found the bottom to the bumper jack. I don't have the handle, but I have the bottom. A couple other things. The reason why the gas gauge probably doesn't work is because this wire right here is broken. That goes to the gas tank. And then also, there could be a reason why my turn signal doesn't work is because this wire right here is broken as well. Some other interesting things. Let's see. Oh, there's some Bubba speaker wiring. I don't know what they were trying to do with this and with that, but they're just kind of hanging there. There was a speaker up in the middle, but it's long gone. This might be what's left over of a trunk light, but with the options that this car has, which are all of one, I'm surprised it even had one. Maybe that was just, they just tucked it in, left it over for if it had one. I don't see one underneath here. I'm not sure. It probably would have been right here, but there's no wires or anything like that. As expected, the trunk weather stripping is pretty much shot, but believe it or not, look at this. The spare tire tub is perfect. There's a couple pieces, it looks like, to the lock mechanism, which I might have to get another one because I don't have one. The only problem I see with this trunk is these rest holes right at the very edge, but luckily those shouldn't be too bad to fix once I get to that point. Right there, and that's it. So you can kind of see that rust transferring over to these back corners. I'm not really worried about it. All in all, it's really solid, especially compared to other stuff. Here's the jack label, what's left of it at least, and then the way I got the trunk open was undoing the bolts that hold that in. So eventually I'm gonna have to get a different trunk lock cylinder and probably a whole different emblem, because this emblem's totally shot. It's supposed to say Oldsmobile along the top. So this one's also pretty crusty, but just one of those things. In time I'll get there. So yeah, there's the trunk. My suspicion is correct. This car never did have reverse lights. It just has, there's no pigtail or anything for the reverse lights. It just has, there's no socket or anything. So never did have reverse lights, just these little deletes. So it has reverse light delete, it has radio delete, it has clock delete, it has there's a couple accessories that are underneath the dash delete that it does not have. I mean, it has almost no options at all. One thing I did discover is that yes, there is original fabric underneath these really ugly 70s seat covers, but the problem is I don't know how nice it is. I'm kind of tempted just to leave these on, but it's one of those things you just don't know. For example, the top of this seat cover, you can see right through it. There's nothing underneath it. So if I take this off, what do I find underneath? I don't know. I do not know. So that's a decision to be made in the very, very far away future. I'm going to show you guys some of the parts that I bought. So here's a radiator. I'm pretty sure it's the right one. It was only like 50 bucks. So we'll see if it holds water and pressure and all that kind of stuff. But before I can put that in, I have to figure out this. So this is basically the plate that goes over the top. But before I can put that in, I have to do like 3 things. I have to figure out, get bolts to mount that square part back down, because that's what connects to the hood up top. I have to figure this out. This looks all bent and crazy, and I don't know why, but that needs figured out, and the reason being is because that helps hold on to this, which attaches to the bottom of that, and also the bottom of the fenders, and I put it up to it, and that looks bent as well, so I don't know what in the world happened to this car. But before I can do any of that, I have to figure out all these wires that are just kind of hanging out. For example, there's this one that looks like a ground to me, but it makes no sense because a ground that goes to a ground. Anyway, there's that one, and then there's a black wire in here that's cut. There's this wire here that's cut. There's some bubbiness that's happened right here, and 2 extra places that have nothing in them, and a wire right here dangling down. So all that wiring has to be figured out before I can even put the front of the car together. I have replaced this negative battery cable. As you can see, it's pretty crappy. So I had one in really good shape. It was red, so I wrapped it in black tape, but it will definitely work just fine. It's one of those things that when you're waiting on parts, I mean, you can only just do so much. So going over to the inside of the car, I want to show you guys this. So check out that really nice steering wheel. The only thing that kind of bugs me is that it used to have a power steering logo at the top. Obviously my car does not have power steering, so that's okay, because if you look at this steering wheel compared to that steering wheel, I can take that little blemish versus all this other stuff. So I'm going to try to at least put that on today, if not anything else. So the first thing I have to do is take this Planet logo center, I guess it's a centerpiece, off. And if you look around back, there's a couple clips right here that I have to get off with a flat blade screwdriver, and then that should just pop right off. So I got this piece off, and it's actually a really cool piece. So the globe in there is only half a globe, but it's backed by a mirror, so it makes it look like it's 3D and it's all the way around. It's really not, but it's a super cool piece. It matches all the other globes all over the car. But with that gone, we can take a look at this steering wheel and see how we can get it off. So I think this horn ring has to come off first, but that requires this nut to come off too. So hopefully that won't be too hard of a job. Seems really loose. It's like if I go over a bumpy road, it's just gonna honk the horn, but the horn I have has rust holes in it, so right now it's just steering wheel. With the wheel pulled off, there's a couple little things that can now come off, including a washer and then a larger retainer right here. I don't think they can come off until the horn ring is removed, so we're gonna have to figure out how to get that off. A couple of observations. I got the horn ring off. It basically just pulled right off. I didn't have to unhook anything. Here is a view of it, so I've just kind of left the little ring spacer that's there on there. And this has a weathered but probably still decent piece of rubber that goes over the steering wheel, so we'll pull that off. There's also this plunger right here that looks like it's still good, so there's a spring in here. Make sure we don't lose that piece. And then this steering wheel I should get my puller out and it should pull right off, and this one should go right in the same place. While I have the wheel off though, I'm going to kind of look at this turn signal switch. It's really kind of loose in here. See how this kind of wobbles around? I don't know if it's not screwed in all the way or if it's broken or what, but now's the time to kind of look at it. I'm pretty sure it will still work. Maybe there's something I can tighten up or adjust while I'm in here. It looks like it has a lot of grease already, but let me get this wheel off and we'll go from there. Well, there's a possibility that this turn signal stock is not the correct one. I think it is, but here's what I found out. So you see how there's threads on this? Can't see that. There's threads on this, but they're all boogered up. The way this came out was I turned this little set screw that was in the turn signal switch right here, and as you can't see this, but as I turn it in, the screw will go farther down like that and hold this stock into place. Now, is it supposed to be like that? I don't know. I guess I can tighten it up and see if it will stick, but the problem is the stock is too small for the hole. So, just one of those things. What do I do about it? So I'm going to fiddle around with that a little bit, but not much. I'll probably just put the steering wheel on and worry about it later. Well, I'm glad I took the time to fiddle around with that, because you can see it does not wobble as much, and look at that. It actually works like it's supposed to. So I might throw a little bit of grease right here, but we can put the steering wheel back on and we should be good to go. Alright, there it is, the finished product, and it matches perfectly. It's much better than the old one. Yeah, I'd rather drive with that one than this one any day, even if it does say power steering right here where the car doesn't have power steering. So maybe I'll find that emblem one day, put it on there.